Steven Spielberg makes a deal with Netflix as the streaming giant's new film, Fatherhood, as well as Disney Pixar's Luca, both premiered this past Father's Day weekend. Joe and I also count down our top Pixar films in celebration of Luca. I'm Darius Delsoin.
And I'm Joe Paterno. This is Cinema Unchained. Alrighty, folks, we're here. We're at episode 20. It's a milestone in my book. I don't know if it is in your book. 20 always seems like a nice, even, round number. But whatever. Who cares, I guess, right? Now, before we get into Steven Spielberg's Netflix deal, don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe, and hit the bell to get all notifications, whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Pandora, YouTube, and so much more. And follow our social media pages in the description, wherever you're watching or listening to this. Before we get into reviewing Kevin Hart's new film, Fatherhood, according to the Wall Street Journal, legendary filmmaker Steven Spielberg has signed a multi-year deal with Netflix to make movies with his production company Amblin Entertainment for the streaming giant. In a statement released from Spielberg, I quote, "It was abundantly clear that we had an amazing opportunity to tell new stories together and reach audiences in new ways." And I have to give a shout out to my cousin Anthony as he first gave me notice of this story. He sent me the link, he sent me the alert, in pretty much the nick of time. So, Darius, what do you think of this development?
I think this is honestly a really cool development. I think it's definitely something I wouldn't have predicted or expected at all from Netflix.
Same.
I think now this comes into question now. We have Netflix, HBO Max, Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, all these streaming platforms are just trying to get that quantity out there. But I think now the decision or seeing a top-tier filmmaker like Steven Spielberg making a deal with Netflix, I think comes into question. Is this now shifting from quantity to quality? And I think that will be really interesting going forward because Steven Spielberg, he's an iconic, film director. Everyone knows the name Spielberg. Yep. That's the thing. He's been around for
everyone outside of film. Like he's one of the few filmmakers where like everyone outside of film knows exactly who he is.
Exactly. And I think that name itself, that brand itself is already so powerful so that now we've known the cinema world, and I think Steven Spielberg coming to Netflix is honestly a bigger deal than probably most people would probably expect.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I just think this plays into the trend that we're seeing of like media and streaming giants like buying up old reliable film entities, because you have Amazon recently within the last few weeks purchasing MGM Studios. Again, this is a studio that made The Wizard of Oz for like around $8.5 billion. So I'm curious as far as like this trend keeping up, what this means for the future of media and I guess just film overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Like, again, Netflix is essentially the biggest streaming giant on the face of the earth. Oh, pretty much almost every single person that has internet and likes movies, that sort of thing, has a Netflix account. Either has one personally or is sharing one.
I made the mistake. Yeah, I made the mistake a while ago of asking someone whether or not they had a Netflix account. And they're like, are you kidding? I'm like, all right, it was a question. All right, no need to get nasty about it. I want to just assume. You can't assume anything nowadays. But no, I mean, this is definitely a big deal. And this shows that while Netflix is definitely the top dog in terms of streaming giants or streaming services, it's definitely keeping an eye on other streaming services. Mm-hmm. It knows it's out in front, but it knows that there are other competitors that are catching up.
Exactly.
And again, I think that's no matter how big you are, you can always fall. You can always fall behind.
Yep.
Or you can just come completely crumbling down. Now, again, from what I know about the deal too, that even though Spielberg's company, Amblin Entertainment, is based in Comcast Corp's Universal Pictures, again, according to the Wall Street Journal, that's where Amblin is based. This Netflix deal, actually, believe it or not, doesn't impact Amblin's original deal with Universal Pictures. Yeah. And I think that just goes to show the kind of weight that Spielberg carries to pull off this sort of deal. And I am curious as far as like the stipulations that went into this deal that Spielberg was able to pull off both. Something else I remember too, again, Steven Spielberg, obviously a huge name in film, an Academy Awards juggernaut. And Spielberg, a couple years ago, within the last few years, questioned whether or not Netflix and other streaming releases in terms of films should be eligible for the Academy Awards. And now I'm just curious, now since his next few films are going to be for Netflix, will his views suddenly change? Or if anything, I think if anything, the stipulation is that too, like you have to have a theatrical release. But I am curious as far as like what his views are, as far as like Netflix now. And the Academy Awards they've remained constant.
Yeah, that is an interesting point to make out with Steven Spielberg, because it's like almost a lot of top tier big name directors have questioned this too. We've had Steven Spielberg, we've had Christopher Nolan, to a certain extent, Denis Villeneuve when the whole HBO Max thing happened. So I think going forward, like it's interesting mainly because it's like Netflix. I think this has started mainly because I don't know about I think it started, but I just find it fascinating that first it was Zack Snyder with his Army of the Dead. Rather you don't like the director or not, whatever, he is, pretty known in, the cinema world as far as his adaptations and everything. With him, with Netflix, and even the partnership he's made with Netflix, with the content he's putting out, the films and animations he's putting out with them, I think that alone kind of showed Netflix is going almost in a different direction now, where now I guess they're really trying to get these bigger name directors to be like, hey, look, Netflix has been around for a while. Now we're starting to get up on our feet, seeing the content we're putting out. Basically every single person that's millions, if not billions of phones and tablets and around the world. And I think Steven Spielberg and some other, and maybe other directors are starting to see that, hey, yes, the cinema movie making world, the theaters are still going to be there for people who want to go to the theaters, but at the same time, it's like the convenience of just putting on Netflix and having it pop up on your phone, I think is definitely starting to speak more to maybe some of the directors out there that want to put their film out no matter what, I think. Again, artist integrity, that also comes into question considering Netflix and their history with meddling things as well, and even the Avatar creators leaving Netflix for the Avatar Last Airbender, and that made me question that now. It's going to be interesting going forward. Again, I think a shift in Netflix doing this is starting to occur, and I also believe, I think Disney Plus kind of started mainly because The Mandalorian had these, not just indie filmmakers, but also even bigger filmmakers, or at least those who have their names are now out more often, tackling shows now, and these high quality shows in the realm of WandaVision, Loki, Mandalorian, that sort of thing. So I think it's going to be an interesting development to see going forward, to see how one, like you mentioned, Steven Spielberg's perspective, how much that's changed or shifted, and two, Netflix's quality of content going forward.
Netflix already had, high quality stuff to begin with. But now, again, you add Steven Spielberg into the mix, that can only go up from here.
Exactly, and it's like, you can't go down from Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. You really can't. So, again, overall, I think this is definitely an interesting development. I'm waiting to see what happens as far as, like, what the two entities put out now. And, again, for all you people that are listening, what do you think of this deal? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? Do you think it's a thing at all? Leave your thoughts in the comment section wherever you can. And now, before we reveal our favorite Pixar films, starring Kevin Hart, Netflix's Fatherhood follows a newly single father as he must deal with the struggles of raising a child following the untimely death of his beloved wife. Now, this is one of those films that really made me think even harder about having kids, because I feel like, with a lot of people, myself included, there's like a sort of romanticized idea of like, parenthood and having kids or whatnot. But this film kind of takes a dive into like the struggles and nuisances that come with having children, but at the same time, it also shows its rewards that it can have too. So the story overall, in my opinion, was definitely captivating. If I looked hard enough, I could probably find films like this one, But overall, I definitely did enjoy it. Darius, what exactly did you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I really like this. I think Kevin, I liked it more than I did. I definitely teared up at certain points because it's such a heartwarming story about a single father who's trying to do good for his own daughter, but at the same time, he's trying not to sacrifice the other elements in his life. And I just think it's so fascinating to see him in the beginning, essentially, being with his daughter as a baby, and then we're starting to see sort of the daughter that he's going to be having from, teenage maybe upwards. Like we get hints of that when she's grown up a bit more. But like, this movie is I thought it was just really well done. If there's anything I feel that it could have been better in, is probably some of the comedic aspect I felt was a bit much in certain areas. I understand, it's clearly, this is Kevin Hart, but it's not really necessarily him in his comedic element. I thought his comedic elements and timing were actually spaced out and really well done. It's just that I think some of the supporting cast members kind of just got in the way, and me personally as a viewer, I was just annoyed to be like, this is going on a bit too much or too long or whatever. But honestly, this movie was absolutely great. Kevin Hart, I think dramatically wise, he definitely has improved, especially with this one. Elements of this also felt very much like Pursuit of Happiness, where it's just, a single father struggling. But again, it's in two different ways and almost perspectives of one who is actually trying to still come up and be successful financially and everything, whereas the other still has that, but it's just almost an element of it's just him, essentially. And then you have members of family who think he's not able to do it, but like, you kind of see the proof in the daughter later on, and I thought this was a really well done film, and I got to give it to everyone, including the little girl. She cracked me up. I love her. So,
in terms of the film's comedy, I can't say that I ever felt like it was a bit much. I feel like this film did a good job of walking the tightrope between dramedy and between drama and comedy to get to dramedy. Excuse me, and I never really felt like one overpowered the other, and it's very clear from the beginning that that's the tone that this film was going to. In my opinion, I feel like this movie, I was expecting something a bit heavier, and I feel like this film definitely had that potential, and I feel like if it had that potential, it really could have stood out. The execution of the story overall felt just a bit slight, but again, I still enjoyed this. And I gotta say, again, I agree with you as far as Kevin Hart. He carries this film, and I expected that going in. This definitely struck me as the kind of film that would be a vehicle for his acting ability, because I notice a lot of comedians, like, they tend to go from, like, again, just like, very light and comedic stuff, and they try to foray into the more dramatic end of things. And I'm going to be honest, 9 times out of 10, it works really well, and Kevin Hart is no exception. He's very endearing. I forgot that he was acting at certain points, and one thing that I really admire about his performance is that I saw him mostly as his character and not him, which, given how famous Kevin Hart is, that's very tough for someone to accomplish. So this is definitely a very out-of-type performance for Kevin Hart, to say the least, and he did very, very well. This movie really is just, it's a vehicle for him more than anything. But that's not to say that he's the only thing that this movie has going for it. Again, you have Melody Hurd, who plays his daughter as she, gets older. You have Alfred Woodard as his mother-in-law, his ever disapproving mother-in-law, and they're both really, really good too.
Oh yeah, for sure. And just like you said, like, it's when you see actors or people like Kevin Hart who are either comedians or they almost fit this one mode of acting, and that's just comedy, and you kind of see them play as essentially themselves, that sort of thing. And Kevin Hart has done that, definitely, for sure. Jumanji, I think, is also a perfect example of, like, it's just Kevin Hart, but it's still fun to watch because it's Kevin Hart. But this one, I definitely agree with that. It definitely helped him a bit, as another film and platform for him to show his acting capabilities much more than the typical comedy. And I think we kind of saw that in another movie. I forgot the name of it, unfortunately. It was years ago. It was a couple years ago, but that was also kind of showed his dramatic elements. And this movie reminded me of that. But again, I think Fatherhood, absolutely stellar. And the thing is, it reminded me of Pursuit of Happiness. However, I don't think it had the weight of what Pursuit of Happiness had that made that movie very iconic and impactful. So I do want to preface that in case people, maybe misinterpret my words like, oh, is that as good as Pursuit of Happiness? No, I don't think so, not in my opinion. But it's somewhat, not really somewhat close. It's just that the themes and the messaging portrayed reminds me of elements of Pursuit of Happiness. That's really what it is. So yeah, I gotta say I thoroughly enjoyed it, better than I thought it would be, to be honest and to be fair. And definitely recommend people to watch this, even if it's after Father's Day. Watch it with your dad. Watch it with your family. This is definitely a movie to cherish fathers and to cherish the power of what fathers mean in families. So
I agree with you there. And just something else I gotta say about the movie too. I did enjoy it overall. It was definitely worth the time I spent, but I don't know if I would have gone to the theaters to see this one, or maybe I would have gone to the theaters to see it and just be like, maybe I could have watched this at home instead. So, would you have gone to the theaters to see this one?
Honestly, I'm happy I saw it at home because I was with my dad. So that just it made the moment even more powerful because it's like it was just me and my dad watching a movie about dads in general and what they're capable of, what they sacrifice as well. So it definitely brought me some tears as well, which is why I'm happy I saw it at home with the person that one of the people that's raised me. So I think watching it at home, hopefully, depending on the families and depending on the kids out there, they will cherish their fathers much more.
Yeah. If you don't already, then I don't know. I thought I had something else for that, but
they have issues.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a good chance. Now, just for all you guys that are listening, what did you think of Fatherhood? And again, same question I'm going to levy to you guys. Would you have gone to see it in theaters, or would you think that this is just better off just being seen at home on Netflix? Leave your thoughts in whatever comment section you can. And moving forward, in celebration of Disney Pixar's Luca being released this past weekend, we're going to reveal our top 5 favorite films from the animation giant Pixar Animation Studios. Now, Darius, I'm going to let you go first on this one. What's your number 5?
Oh man, well, why do I have to go first on this one? This is so hard for me to do. Okay, I think on my number 5 would have to be Inside Out. I love Inside Out for all the reasons of it being this teenage, this little young woman essentially going through a bunch of emotions, and we get to visually see those emotions and how they actually affect her psychologically. And that's one of the big reasons why Inside Out is in my top 5 Pixar films. So I absolutely love Inside Out.
Yeah, terrific movie. I remember seeing it like a couple days after prom. So that was definitely a memorable experience, to say the least. Now, as far as my number 5, I think a lot of people are going to be shocked that this movie is only number 5 on my list, and that has to be Toy Story. Now, again, this is the shot heard around the world for Pixar. This is the shot heard around the world, I think, for computer animation in general. This is the very first computer animated feature-length film in history, and this is one of these films that's not a one-trick pony, because you think with something like this, that like, oh, it's the first computer animation film, that's probably all it's going to have going for it. Nope, not even close. This movie is funny, it's witty, it has a lot of great characters that have gone to just like be milestones in terms of just like pop culture entertainment in general. Again, terrific characters. It's a very funny movie. Voice performances, you have Tom Hanks, you have Tim Allen, you have Don Rickles as Mr. Potato Head, may he rest in peace. You have a lot of great music. So that's, again, all that coming together to really just make a landmark film. So Toy Story is number 5 for me.
Okay, my number 4, this actually might come as a shock, but we'll discuss this later in this podcast, will actually be Luca.
Really? Okay. All right. So
Yes.
I'm not gonna press you too much on that at the moment. But all right, that's
let's
interesting.
just say this was a very hard list for me to make.
Same.
But Luca, I just think it's definitely my number 4.
All right. Stay tuned. Stay tuned, folks. All right. So my number 4 has to be Ratatouille. Now, in my opinion, this is among the more underrated Pixar films. Well, here's the thing. It was very well received, but for whatever reason, in my opinion, it's just not really talked about as much because, again, this is just such a great film. It has a very unlikely hero. Excuse me, I'm making up words now. Unlikely hero, and it seems like a kind of like an odd concept for a kid's film. And again, I love the voice. One of the things that I felt was very unique about this film from other Pixar films was the voiceover narration from Remy. I think he had great insight, very, just a great voice all around, great perspective. I think it's the best way to put it with him. And again, I remember seeing this around the last day of 4th grade. So I was 10 years old when this movie came out. And one thing that I think about that makes me laugh was I remember my mom first watching this movie and she was freaked out because there were rats in the kitchen. So I don't know, that's just something that always makes me chuckle. But again, there's another movie that has a lot going for it. Again, great animation, great storytelling. And yeah, that's my number 4.
Yep. My number 3 will oh man, it will have to be Up. This movie hit all the strings for me. It's really the beginning of Up. That's what sold me on this movie, and that's what really tugged my heart. Everything from what the old man's passions was, the kids, and just how everything just felt just so organic and so uplifting at the same time, that Up is easily my number 3, and I will constantly cry to this movie. It doesn't matter if I'm 40, I will cry again.
It's funny you say that Up is your number 3 because my number 3 is actually Up. One of the things I will say about this movie was there aren't a lot of sequences in film history that will completely fuck you up more than the first 10 minutes of Up. This sequence alone could just, honestly, I think it could work as a short film, a really depressing animated short film. But one of the things among the things I love about this movie is that it's not afraid to tackle mature issues like we see in the first 10 minutes of the film, but at the same time, it's still hilarious throughout. This movie is fucking hysterical. This is probably the best balance of comedy and drama that I think Pixar has ever offered. And it has a very weird and unconventional adventure, but at the same time, it never really feels unrealistic or fantastical, which I think is very strange. Obviously, where they go, isn't realistic. It's not like you can see this actually happening, but at the same time, it doesn't really have that out of world feeling to it. But I don't know, it's just very weird. It's just a very strange feeling looking back on this film, but at the same time, again, obviously not bad in any terms by any stretch of the imagination. It just feels like it's a very unique film.
Yep.
So that's my number 3.
And my number 2 will go to Soul. Everything from the music, everything from the just the passion of Joe Gardner, what he strived for, how it intertwined with 22's hysterical questioning of reality and human beings, I thought was just so well executed that it's I want to say Soul's my number 1, but it's not, because something overtook that, to be honest, for me. And again, I still thoroughly enjoyed Soul. I enjoyed being in the heart of Harlem and seeing the music, feeling the passion, all of that. So Soul is definitely my number 2.
My number 2, honestly, and again, this may come as a shock to certain people, but I honestly think this one is the best in the particular franchise, and that has to be Toy Story 3. This is one of these movies that I remember when it came out. I was trying to get a day with my friends to go and see this film, and for whatever reason, our schedules weren't lining up. I got so impatient that I looked up the synopsis to the film. And when I finally went to go see the film, I was still questioning things as I was watching it. That's how engaging this movie is. Like for example, again, this movie's over 10 years old. You haven't seen it. This isn't a spoiler at this point. You know, you're living under a rock. When they're in the incinerator, right?
Oh, man,
I remember
yes.
I read that online, and it says that they get out. But in the actual movie itself, I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, man, are they actually going to get out of this? Like, I don't know. Again, this movie is it's emotionally hefty, to say the least. I definitely I cried in the theater. I cried in the theater because of the emotional power that this film has.
I cried.
As far as, like, you know, moving on from, like, you know, the certain people that you care about, and, like, you know, just like ending certain chapters in your life. And I felt like that really struck a nerve with me, because at that time we thought that Toy Story 3 was going to be the last Toy Story film, right? So in a way, it was one of the marks of the end of my childhood. Even though, again, like, I was 13, like, I was going from kid to teenager at that point, but it still felt like the mark to the end of my childhood. Again,
that sounds familiar.
Yeah, really. Yeah. But even just emotional power aside, there are a lot of great characters in this movie. I love how they blended the new and the old characters. Like, you know, no one ever feels like extraneous. No one ever feels underdone. And this would have been the perfect ending to the series. And that's not to bash Toy Story 4, because honestly, Toy Story 4 was, I think, the sequel that a lot of people didn't know they wanted. They did a great job with that, but I still think that Toy Story 3 would have been the perfect ending to the series. So again, that's, even after Toy Story 4, Toy Story 3 is my number one out of the entire franchise, but only my number two for Pixar.
Okay. My number one is definitely in my top 5 Pixar films. But my number one will actually go to Coco. I absolutely love this movie, from everything from the music and the feeling of family, the importance of family and ancestry, and really the fact of, and what really hooked me on with this, just like how Up did, was the grandmother, and just how, the state she was in, just how music brought her back and everything. And the movie definitely, let's just say, for a good half, if not the third act of the film, I was crying the entire time. I was either balls out crying, or I was getting teary-eyed. And
balls out crying, huh?
Yeah. Or, like, I would cry stop in, like, that third act when I went and saw this. But this movie, for me personally, I had a close relationship with my grandmother, and this movie kind of brought me back to that, and was just like, wow, I don't know how you guys did it. First it was Up, now it's Coco, and literally in the theater, I was like, God dang it. Damn it, Pixar, why'd you do it again? But, like, Coco's definitely, actually, probably my number one, because of just everything. Again, I love my family. I love my family no matter what. We can always have our differences, that sort of thing, but Coco definitely helped unify that, as well as artist integrity. And I think as upcoming filmmakers and writers, it's important to keep that integrity in our artwork, in our writing, in our films, to get the messaging actually across, and hopefully not be tampered with too much that deviates and takes away what makes our piece of writing, our film, our video game, our animation special the way it is. And I think that it also tackled that to a degree, again, that just unified everything for me. Unified the family, theme of family, being one with yourself, artist integrity. So Coco definitely has to be most likely my number one. And just, this movie almost made it to my top 5. Honestly, I think I could easily switch this out with Luca, but just as one extra thing, again, it's not 6, but something that would have been up there is WALL-E. For obvious reasons. I don't have to say. Oh yeah, I don't want to get into too much of that, but Coco, I absolutely adore that movie. That's made me cry. Probably not as more as Up, but compared to how Up, every single time I upload that movie, I watch it, I'm crying. Coco, when I get to that scene, I'm crying. It's just what happens. I don't know why.
You know, it's funny because, like, I remember when I went to go see Coco, like, I heard, like, a lot of people were getting, like, very emotional with the movie. And while the movie throughout definitely tugged at my heartstrings, I managed to almost make it through the whole thing without crying. But his great-grandmother, his great-grandmother reminded me a lot, and just how she looked, of my great-grandmother, my Nana, who passed away like a few years ago. Love you, Nana. Rest in peace. And again, this is another movie. Came out like 4 years ago. This isn't a spoiler at this point. When they placed the picture frame of her on the table with the other relatives that had passed, I'm like, fuck, and I started crying. Like, I couldn't, like, it's brought back, it brought back too many memories. I just connected with that a lot. So, honestly, Coco is definitely, it's a very powerful film. So great number one pick.
You just mentioning that already made me cry.
But all right, so my number one Pixar film of all time has got to be The Incredibles. This is one of these movies that I thought, like, I always had a great time watching when I was younger. I always thought it was entertaining when I was younger. But as I got older, I realized just how brilliant this movie is. Like, you know how certain movies, like when you watch when you're younger, like they kind of like, and then you grow up, and then they're just not as good. They just don't mature with you. This movie matured with me. There's just so much that this movie has to offer other than just entertainment value and just how funny this is. This movie has a razor sharp wit. It feels very unique from other superhero movies. Like it's weird. Like, it feels so unlike other superhero movies that I forget it's a superhero movie, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Amazing musical score. Robbed the Academy of the Oscar, even an Oscar nomination. Like, come on, really? Do you listen to this music throughout this movie? Are we hearing the same thing? Like, the music branch at the Oscars are so tone deaf, but that's a conversation for another day. Voice performances all across the board were hysterical. There are just so many amazing and really just memorable scenes, like Dash running on water. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, how great is that? But I think the thing that stands out the most about this film to me was the morality of the film. The themes that this film stresses and has to offer, the ideas of individualism, and just to borrow a couple quotes out the movie, when everyone is super, no one will be. Just taking on this idea of, like, every single person is special or whatnot. Every single person deserves this and that. Another line from the movie when they're talking about Dash, not even graduating like grade school or whatever, but moving from one grade to the next. It's just like, it's a ceremony. So it's like they keep creating new ways to celebrate mediocrity. Mediocrity. Can't talk today. Mediocrity. And I just feel like that one lesson, that one line alone, can be applied to so many things in our society today. And again, this movie's 17 years old. This movie is 17 years old. They keep creating new ways to celebrate mediocrity. And again, I played baseball when I was younger. I was in Little League through the 8th grade. I got a trophy every single year. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't deserve a trophy any of those fucking years because I was terrible at baseball. I was terrible. So this idea of celebrating just who you are as a person, celebrating what's special about you.
Exactly.
And that you're not like, no one is like, the guy next to them. But at the same time, no one is automatically deserving of the person next to them. Like, I think that we just need to place more of an emphasis on just like individual achievements. And I think that's one of the things that this movie does extremely well.
Yep. Oh, man. Wow. That was our top 5.
Yeah. That went by quicker than I thought it would.
Oh, yeah.
So now, just for all you guys that are still listening, is there a Pixar film of your favorite Pixar film of yours that we didn't mention? If we didn't, you know what to do. There's a comment section there for a reason. Mention whatever movie in that comment section there below, whether it's on YouTube, whatever podcasting platform you listen to, social media, whichever. And now, before we cap off the show with our review of Luca, don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe, and hit the bell to get all notifications, whether you're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, and more. And those social media pages in the description They're there for they're there for you to. Oh my goodness, I can't talk today. Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry, folks. They're there for a reason. They're there for you to follow, like, spread the word, all that good stuff. And now to cap off the show, Disney Pixar's Luca was released on Disney Plus this past weekend, and it follows a strong friendship as it grows between two sea monsters and a human girl during the summer on the Italian Riviera. And I feel like I've talked a lot, Darius. Just tell us what you think.
Well, there's a reason why I also put it in my top 5, but I also said how I could easily swap this out with WALL-E, because it's like I really liked Luca a lot more than I thought I would. I thought some of the symbolical meanings they put in this film, or at least I interpreted, was absolutely really well done. When I say this movie is hysterical, I did not I knew it was going to be a comedy. I didn't expect how funny this movie would be related to just one character. But overall, I really, really love this movie. I like coming of age stories. I like the idea of taking this person who is maybe socially awkward or whatever, and them finding their own self and everything. And again, we've seen coming of age stories before, but I think with Luca, for some reason, I think him being a fish, the main character being, a sea creature, and it's not what it's in the trailers, I think that honestly solidified much of my thought in certain, even things that are going on in society today, that made me be like, this is so good. This is so great. I love what they're doing, and I think a lot of people probably won't see what I'm seeing, but if they do, I hope they take it to heart, because I absolutely adore this movie. This is, like I said, it's definitely one of my favorite Pixar films as well, because of just to some of the symbolical meanings, and I guess the idea of not everything also has to be a relationship or whatever, or, this sexual relationship is just a friendship,
Yep.
and again, that connects hard with me so much, because it's like, this is so, like I said, I absolutely love this movie. Joe, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that this movie has coming for it is its story. There's a lot going on in the story in terms, again, one of the things that this movie has going for it in its story is the coming of age aspect of it all. Again, I'm a sucker for coming of age stories. And when you mesh that with, again, the themes of friendship and acceptance or whatnot, you get something that it's weird. It feels very light, but at the same time, again, the more I think about the story, the more I admire it. It's simple, but at the same time, it has a lot going for it. It's very strange. The plot of this movie is definitely very minimalistic, to say the least. Again, most of it does feel like these two friends or really these three friends just coming together and just growing that bond with each other. And there's a sort of decathlon in the movie or whatnot. So, but it's one of those movies where the plot doesn't have very high stakes at all.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a simple charm to this film that the plot plays into. Again, it works well. Another thing the movie has working for it are the characters. Or should I say, most of the characters. The protagonists or whatnot, the three kids, even a lot of the adults, they're what they have going on with them in terms of their personalities, in terms of their backstories, insecurities. It all works very well. Their dynamics with each other are terrific. One character, and I think you may know who I'm talking about, that doesn't fit this bill is the villain. Holy shit. He was, I'm going to be honest, he was pretty bad. He was definitely among the worst Pixar antagonists that I've seen. But at the same time, he doesn't even come anywhere close to dragging down this film.
Honestly, the villain, I put in quotes, to me kind of just, I couldn't take him seriously, but at the same time, I like that aspect because I couldn't take him seriously. Because every time this dude was on screen, I can't stop laughing.
Which is, I mean, because here's the thing, I don't know if that's what they were going for.
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't know if that's what they were going for, but maybe I'm wrong. Another thing that that separates this movie from a lot of other Pixar films is the animation.
Yes.
And I was doing a little bit of reading on this. This film was the animation for this film was inspired by both hand drawn and stop motion animation, and as well as like the films of Hayao Miyazaki. And just the film overall was inspired. The director of the film was Enrico Casarosa, and this movie was inspired by his childhood growing up in Genoa, Italy. And as someone, again, I'm Italian on both sides, very proud of it. I appreciated like the certain details that came into play when it came to creating this world.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, just a direct quote from him, this film pays homage to Federico Fellini and other classic Italian filmmakers with a dash of Miyazaki in the mix too, which the more I think about it, that's an interesting blend. That's a really interesting blend. That's not a direction that I think a lot of people would go in. What'd you think of the voice performances? Because overall, I thought they were pretty strong.
I thought they were great. I mean, Jacob Tremblay, honestly, I think he's gonna, I liked him in Good Boys. I really did. He was great. There's almost an innocence to him in that movie, but in this one, I feel that it even was much stronger here, and I thought he was great as the main character of Luca. I absolutely adored Jack Dylan Grazer's character as Alberto. That kid, he's a good actor, honestly, and I got to give it to him. He's been knocking it out of the park for me personally. Again, all the voice actors, even the villain, absolutely love.
Yeah. So now, one thing I think Disney and Pixar kind of screwed up with, and again, I don't know whose fault this is. This movie went directly to Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Like, it did not get a theatrical release, went straight to Disney Plus, and I'm trying to figure out why. Because there have been other movies that have come out within the last few months that have gone through with their theatrical releases. Why wasn't Luca one of them? Because honestly, this one should have been in theaters. Given everything that this movie has going on, especially visually, that's something that should have been seen on a big screen. And I don't know how much.
No, I agree. As I was watching it, I was like, why is this not on the big screen? Why did they put it to Disney Plus? I mean, I have a pretty decently sized TV at home, but like seeing this in like a theater,
same,
would be like, oh my god, like this would be even more impactful for me personally. But I also have to give it one more thing as well: the character models. What are your opinions on their fish forms?
Their fists?
Like, their sea monster forms, essentially. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said fists, like F-I-S-T,
no.
fish forms. I thought it looked really cool.
Yeah, because, again...
I thought just like how, again, like all the characters and everything animation-wise in this film, I thought was not only unique, but just all around spectacular.
Yeah, I agree. Like, especially their model designs, to me, I was watching, I'm like, I'm getting a sense of exoticness with, like, sea dragon and even almost taking the colors of the corals down below and just fusing it in it. I really love the character models. Because that, again, for me, that also was a big standout because it felt like a proper, almost mystical sea creature, and I really like that. But yeah, so I absolutely adore this movie. I love it. So I definitely recommend people to see it.
It was definitely worth the time spent. The movie I want to say is about an hour. It's like a little over an hour and a half. It's a very short film, and honestly, it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. If you want like light, breezy entertainment, it's weird. If you want light, breezy entertainment disguised as something that has a lot going on, this is the movie for it.
Yep.
This doesn't feel. It's simple, but it's not shallow. Which again, kind of sounds like an oxymoron. Sounds like it's contradictory, but it's a very weird and unique feeling that this movie.
I think it being simple and its plot and the story, I felt honestly helped the film a lot because it's like they can actually go a bit more in depth with the friendship between these two. And again, almost every scene felt important on multiple levels for each character on what they fundamentally want and want to believe in. And I really enjoy how the two main characters are attracted to one another in friendship wise, but yet are so fundamentally different. And we see that tension.
Yep, opposites
exactly.
attract.
And not only that, but we see that tension between them later on, but just again, that power of that, when you're a kid in kindergarten and you're like the new kid in the in the school, but there's always going to be that one guy that just helps you out, or introduces you, that introduction, and is that magic of like, hey, this might be your new best friend or whatever. I thought was so great. But at the same time, as you guys grow and become one with yourself a bit more, you both have varying different interests that may not align all the time. And, you gotta go your separate ways sometimes. And again, I think Luca did it beautifully well, in my opinion. I thought it was paced excellently to the point where I did not feel like I was out of the movie at all. I was out of an animated Pixar film at all. A Pixar film, really. And Pixar has managed to keep the magic that they've been known for all these years, and I think Luca is definitely the latest one in that for me personally.
Yeah, this is a movie where, like, going from when we first saw the trailer, because again, when that trailer first came out, I didn't really know too much about it, and then that first teaser like really wowed me. Coming from there to now here, that I guess that journey, without sounding too pretentious, has definitely been worth it. I definitely enjoyed anticipating and then watching this film for sure. Did this movie wow me as such as other Pixar films? Honestly, no, but I think it's worthy of being in the Pixar lineup. And just out of curiosity for all you guys, again, you have to have had thoughts on Luca. The only way you don't is that if you don't have Disney Plus. And just another question, again, just for discussion, would you guys have seen it in theaters if it got a theatrical release? Now, again, there's a place to put your answers to all these questions, and that's in the comments section. Whether it's on YouTube, again, whatever podcasting platform, social media. Again, don't be shy. Don't make me feel like I'm talking to a wall here. And just like that, episode 20, we made it through to episode 20. Another nice little milestone for Cinema Unchained. We made it through, and show's done. Don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe, and hit the bell to get all notifications, whether you're on Google Podcasts, Listen Notes, Stitcher, and so much more. And again, for the last time today, those social media pages that are in the description, they're there for a reason. And thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Adios.